Let's go ahead and cross here and see what this other side has, what it looks like around the edges. A very interesting green colored grave, probably made out of copper maybe. I think copper turns green over the years. You can see the flooding is still affecting this area. Normally everything down here would be walkable. And this doesn't look like, at least most of it doesn't look like pieces of gravestones. It looks like rubble that was used for either the base stones or decorative pieces at the front of the graveyard. However, I'm seeing at least one piece here in the middle that appears as if it may have come from a grave marker. You can see lots of destruction has been caused by this flood and storms here, and this very large tree has fallen over, and it's now causing pressure here on these trees, and it may eventually cause them to fall over as well. Coming up on a veteran of some sort. It looks like Civil War. And definitely part of the Michigan infantry. Passed away in 1901, so more than likely that would have been somebody who had fought in the Civil War. And this grave here has seen a lot of damage and decay over the years. And it's definitely given it a very interesting coloring. So far it's seeming like the edges are fairly well kept on this side. There is a fence at the edge. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that there's not graves behind it, but so far I'm not seeing anything. And this here is another, what appears to be a Civil War veteran. You can see a lot of these have the updated markers, which would have been probably supplied by the VA or another charitable organization, and doesn't represent the actual or probably original GAR marker that would have been left here. And just like last time, you can see that this particular marker has had a sticker placed on it so that when people come here, they know to replace the flags that are placed in these pipes here. And that'll probably be happening here fairly soon, as spring is upon us right now. And it kind of looks like this marker's been replaced once before. There's a little bit of an old marker that is popping out of the ground, and it may just be a base stone, but it doesn't look to be actually connected with the current marker, so it's probably a sign that it's been replaced at some point, or that it's an individual family member marker. As you can tell, there is 3 different people that this particular family stone here represents. This is a very interesting way to have designed this marker here. They've actually made it look like there's a sign that's hanging on this old tree stump here. It was very neat. Once again, they're all so unique. I've never actually seen anything quite like that before, other than the general design of the tree. And that's the only way you can really identify these, because everything else is pretty much custom to that specific person and their wants and wishes, or their family members' desires. I've only really seen one tiny little path going down into the woods below. So far I haven't actually seen anything that represents graves that were left out of the modern day borders. And in fact, this one coming up is pretty much the closest that I've seen here on this side. And they've done at least a decent job of keeping the erosion away and keeping it within the borders, but you can kind of tell that it's changed around this area more than any other place, because you can see some of the different plants that have been planted here in the past for decorative purposes that are now just kind of shoved as far back as possible. So probably a sign that at one point this was about 10 or 15 feet longer, and would have been potentially a family section. You can see it, there's just an enormous amount of these flowers that have been planted, and then it looks like eventually just kind of grew on their own. They're blanketing this entire hill all the way down to the current water level. It actually looks really neat. I really love these flowers. And I just noticed that right behind here is actually a hunting stand, although I'm sure that they're not going to be hunting anytime soon with these floodwaters, unless they're intending to do some duck hunting. Looks like we may have stumbled upon a section that has had a lot of damage from the erosion. Right here we see that the grave marker of George Wilson is actually about to slide down this hill into the water below. Although I do see the fence line is right here, so it does seem like the borders are still fairly accurate. And in good news, the actual metal fencing may prevent the stone from falling any further down the hill. And I don't know if this base stone here has anything to do with the marker of George Wilson, but it is only a few feet away and in the same exact circumstances. However, it is missing its top stone, but I'm not seeing any evidence of it going anywhere. If it did so many years ago that it was before this fence was put in place, and maybe buried way down there. And alternatively, it may just be buried in the ground directly behind it when this area was still flat. Because as you can tell from here, the fence posts were actually poured when this area was still flat ground and have eroded away, and you can see all the cement and everything used to put them in place. I didn't actually notice this before, but we're coming up upon another entryway here, or at least what may be a side wall used to prevent erosion. I'm not sure if it would have actually represented a way in, but it looks like there is a place at the end here for a gate, so I'm assuming that at one point it would have been an entryway. And you can see pieces of the old gate right here, and you can see where the old gate would have been attached right here. And for whatever strange reason, just like the other side of the highway, a lot of these graves appeared to be moved as if they were hit, or there was just such excessive floodwaters that they were able to pick them up and move them, you know, a few feet or a few inches here and there. Just like this one here that's just moved ever so slightly off of its base stone. And then you can see, you know, certain stones have been just turned sideways a little bit. So I'm not really sure as to the explanation, but it seems to be happening quite a bit in this place. And the only reason I can really come up with is the floodwaters or people driving through on off-road vehicles or trucks and hitting things in the dark or not paying attention. But if any of you happen to know a more exact reason for this, or if I'm wrong, please let me know in the comments below. And I'd love to know the reasoning behind some of these things. But it almost appears deliberate in a lot of ways, or like I said, just due to natural disaster that regularly occurs in this area. It definitely looks like somebody has been driving on this entrance recently. I don't think that you're really supposed to be driving over here. However, I can definitely see some brand new tire tracks, especially towards the entrance where it kind of ripped up the grass a little bit when they were entering. And yet another amazing historical place. And unfortunately just a lot of very mysterious damage that really could be easily corrected with just a few hours of work. And I really don't know why it is that people don't attempt to come to these places and at least do a little bit of restoration work. It just seems sad that we would leave such an easy job undone, especially for the memories of our loved ones that passed away. So thank you guys for watching this episode of 539 Productions. I know it was a little bit shorter of an episode than we've been doing here recently, but I thought it was really important to come out and finalize this place and finish what I had started last time. Really, again, a historic location, well over 100 years old, now going on 200 years old, and represents a lot of the people that fought and died for this country and for our freedoms, and so that we could be here today. And really, we wouldn't be here, and maybe not in these circumstances, if they didn't do what they did.